Hello everyone and welcome back to Cutting Edge Action. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I sharpen my knives in detail. I use a Lansky set to do my sharpening. The base and vise hold the knife in place, and the guide rods and slots ensure that the sharpening angle stays consistent throughout the process. Using this sharpening technique, you'll be sure to get a great edge every single time. You'll know your knife is dull when the edge hitches while cutting or causes things to tear apart rather than cut cleanly. If the edge of your knife doesn't have any chips or rough areas, there's a chance you only need to strop your knife using a piece of raw leather. Skip to the time code here to learn how to strop. Stropping is typically the final part of the sharpening process, but it can totally revitalize edges that aren't damaged but are misaligned on the microscopic level. The process of sharpening refers to making the edge of the knife as thin and aligned as possible. We'll get some extreme close-ups of the edge at different steps of the process to really show what I mean. I'll start with a dull knife. I dulled my cold steel AK-47 splitting wood and throwing sparks from a fire rod with the edge. Let's take a look at the dull edge with a close-up. As you can see, there's lots of chipping and rolling in the edge. Even with the extremely high toughness and relatively high edge retention of CPM 3V, the fire rod has really done a number here. Let's get a test to see how the blade cuts through phonebook paper. There's lots of hitching and catching going on when I try to slice through the paper. I'm doing a lot more tearing than cutting. This knife has been thoroughly dulled. There's plenty of rolling and chipping running the entire length of the edge. This is also my regular batoning knife and I've never sharpened it. It's definitely due. Let's go ahead and make this thing sharp again. First, clamp roughly the middle of the blade at the thickest portion of the stock. Tighten down the front screw first. Next, tighten down the back screw to apply the leverage necessary to keep it totally stationary during the sharpening process. Since this knife is mainly used to split wood and doesn't need to be as sharp as a filleting knife, for example, I'm going to sharpen it to 30 degrees. If your blade geometry allows and you want a sharper finished product, you can sharpen to a more shallow angle. Since the edge is so chipped, I'm going to start with my red coarse stone. If your edge is just in need of a touch-up, you can skip straight to a finer stone. As you sharpen more and more knives, you'll get a better read on which rod to start with. If you're unsure, go with your coarse stone. Hold the stone by the side closest to you and apply decent pressure downward. Move the stone up and down the edge of the blade while keeping the motion of your grinding perpendicular to the edge. As you work your way towards the tip, make sure you're adjusting the angle of your motion to keep your strokes perpendicular to the edge. Work your way from the section of the edge closest to the handle all the way to the tip on both sides. When you're done, you shouldn't see any more chips in the blade. If you still see obvious chipping, keep working with the stone in those areas. After you've completed this on both sides of the knife with the coarsest stone you intend to use, go ahead and do the same with the next higher grit stone. Since I started with the coarse stone, I'm going to transition to the medium stone. Repeat the exact process with the medium stone that you just did with the coarse stone. After finishing with the medium stone, I'm going to finish off the sharpening with the fine stone. Repeat the exact same process that you did with the coarse and medium stones. After you're finished with that, we're going to add one more step. Work your way from the section of the edge closest to the handle all the way to the tip, but only sharpen with the push stroke this time. Take the pressure off the stone every time you make a pull stroke. You can do a couple passes to make sure you've gotten the entire edge with only the push stroke. This step is very important because it's going to partially align the microscopic burr that forms during the sharpening process. Now we're going to finish things off with a strop. Stropping is arguably the most important step in the sharpening process. It forces the microscopic edge into alignment and can be the difference between a very dull knife and a very sharp knife. Like I said before, stropping can revitalize a knife that still has an intact edge that's just misaligned or rolled on the microscopic level. You can buy very fancy stropping pads, but I'm just using an old belt. Place your strop on a sturdy surface and pull the edge over the surface of the leather. Only do this with the edge going in the opposite direction of the cutting direction to avoid damaging your strop. Try to maintain the same angle that you sharpened your edge to. You're going to want to strop your knife approximately 20 times on each side. Let's get a close-up on that edge now that we've stropped the knife. Now that we've completed the entire sharpening and stropping process, let's go ahead and get another cutting test. Now that is exactly what I wanted to see. Now the knife is making cutting through this phonebook paper look super easy. This was a fairly quick sharpening job. To make your edge even sharper, there are several different things you can do. Sharpen the knife to a shallower angle, use an ultra-fine stone with honing oil, use a jig to maintain the perfect angle during stropping, or you can strop more times to get a more precise finish. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really hope you found this video informative and that your knives will be nice and sharp when you apply these techniques. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Get subscribed and click the bell if you're not subscribed already. Leave a comment to let me know how this works for you. Until next time, this has been Cutting Edge Action.